Have you ever wanted to build an app? Well, it's got easier than it ever has been right now. And there's lots of different ways to do it. But the way I like to do it is using Google AI Studio. Now, there's a few reasons for this. You could use Bolt, Lovable, and one of the many other different types of programming tools that are available on the web. But for me, it's about longevity. I look at things and think, well, what if I wanted to build this project and keep it around for the next 5 or 10 years? The chances are Google's still going to be around, whereas some of these other companies could get bought up or shut down. So I've decided if I'm going to work this way, if I'm going to build some tools, I'm going to actually invest my time and energy into learning how to use Google AI Studio because it just makes more sense from me. So what I thought to do today is show you how easy it is to actually make a new piece of software. And I'm going to show you two different ways of doing it, even though they're really the same thing. And realistically, I'll be looking at the way I prompt it rather than anything else. So let's have a look. So we'd log into Google AI Studio, which is basically free to use. And a couple of things I really love about this. The first is you can put real database backends to your apps. So you can have a section where people pay, they log in and they do upload their own information, they do their own thing in there, and it stores that. So next time after they've logged out, they can log back in and it'll still be stored there. But you can also have an administrator level if you want. So you can oversee everybody who's a member. All of those things are able to be done between Google AI Studio and Firebase and the other tools that Google provides. And that is a real difference compared to a lot of the other tools. And they work together really easy. Now, I'm not going to go to that depth today. I'm just going to show you the basic app making, procedure. So one of the things I've realized is that, if you want to get people to a website or if you want to add a feature to an existing website, one of the things you can do is add calculators. And you might have a calculator. If you're in real estate, you might have one on, home loans. If you're in, cars, you could have a car lease one. There's so many different types of calculators you could have. I mean, I made one called Bionic Reader, which turns text into bionic text. So people with ADHD can read it easily. It's very, very simple to do with AI Studio. So I had a play here and I write me a prompt for a Google AI Studio to help me build a great app. Now, my initial prompt was this basic one here. I want to create a calculator to work out leasing for a new car. Please include all the fields that a finance company would need to work out my repayments. Now, I can actually use that one to create this app, and I'll show you that. But I can actually get a lot more depth into my app if I let another AI write the prompt for me, because it goes into so much more detail. You can see here, layout and user, inputs, applicant deals, vehicle types, lease structure. There's so much more information that is not in this little tiny prompt that I put up the top there. But that said, AI Studio is a programming tool that actually knows what you're talking about already. So let's have a look at that. I'm going to switch back here. I'm going to paste in my prompt there. And I'm going to use Gemini 3 Flash Preview. You can choose different models if you want to, but go with the default when you're playing with it. And then I'm going to go build. Now, notice the microphone here. You can actually speak what you want in here. And that is a really great way. I always encourage people to speak to their AI. But if I click build, it will now start the process and go off and build that. And all being well, that actually should come to fruition reasonably quickly. So you'll notice on the left-hand side over here in the bar, you'll see it's adding lease variables. And, it's showing me what it does. When I click on these arrows, it shows me it's defining the calculator scope. Now it's starting to write the JSONs and other programming parts of the program that I can't do because I can't code. Now, you'll notice we've got preview and code mode. So I can, switch modes and see what it's actually doing. And you can see there's that metadata JSON that I was talking about a second ago. I can't program. The best I can offer you is a bit of HTML. I'm pretty good at hacking WordPress and things like that. But other than that, I'm hopeless. And there's a few reasons for that. One is I'm not all that good at math. And the second reason is I do not have the ability to sit down and just learn it. It doesn't lock into my brain. But I have lots of ideas up here, probably like you do. So why not take them and turn them into things? So you can, make all sorts of tools using AI Studio. And this calculator is just an example of that. You really don't need a lot of skills to actually make it happen. So sit down and think about some things that you'd like to create. Now, one of the great things about AI Studio is, of course, that you can actually deploy these if you click publish to Google's service. So if you put your credit card into billing and, pay for cloud servers, you can actually deploy it up there, and you only pay for the amount of data that people are using. So rather than paying, say, $20 a month, if you've only got a couple of people coming to that site, it might be 20 cents a month. So it's a really, really fair option. And you'll notice the user interface is now being developed here. So there's more going on while we're talking, but you can publish these and you can actually have your own domain on there. So you can actually buy a domain and put a domain on Google. So you can actually buy, in this case, vehicleleasecalculator.com if you want to, and put it up on the web and make it live, and people can go there. And if you want to, you can add, advertising to that page. And if people go to the page and they click the links to buy a car, you might get a percentage, an affiliate payment for that. But of course, that's only the first step. There's so much more you can do with this. You can, put logins on it. You can charge people for access to it. There's all sorts of other levels that we can go to. So you can see here now, it's given me the breakdown, and it says I've built LeaseCalc Pro, the comprehensive car leasing calculator. And here we go. Here is the working model. If I scroll down, even here, I can download this as a PDF. So let's have a look. The car value is $62,000. Negotiated price is $55,000. Residual value, 45, because that's not normally what it is, over 5 years. And how many months is 5 years? 5 12s, 60. So we put that in there. Down payment, we're going to say 0 because we're doing a lease. Trade-in value, I'm going to say my car was worth 11,000. And whoops, 110,000. Let's not get carried away there. And interest rate 4.75. Okay, so 4.75 is not real. It's around 7% these days. Fees, sales tax rate, well, it's 10% in my country. So here we go, $571 per month. That seems pretty good. It gives me my depreciation, my rent and tax, total lease. Now, this may not be accurate for your country, and you can actually denote that. You'll notice over here, comprehensive finance fields. You might want to go and research more detail, okay? So that was just done with that one prompt. So let's go back to the start and go and get this one, which is our much longer prompt. And let's see what it does with this one. Just make sure that it's all in there. Great. Okay, build. Now we'll let this loose. So now what it's going to do is go through the same process again, except that it's going to actually follow the instructions, and hopefully, we'll see a difference in the layout and in the styling and everything. But who knows, it might come back with exactly the same tool. The point is that you can take a comprehensive prompt and make sure that you get colors right, layouts right, fonts right, all the things that you want your way, even if you have no skills at all in programming, just by putting it into the prompt. Or you can do what I did in the first example where I just said, I want a calculator to work out leases. Now, when it came to that first prompt and it finished the user interface, if I wanted to change something, I don't need to start from scratch. I can just actually choose that element and say, make the button blue, make the button pink, whatever I want to do. So you can, once you've got the basic outline done, you can then test it and say, change this, add that, remove this, put a button here that does that. You can continue to grow the interface. Now, one of the things I really, really like about this is you can actually roll back to a previous version. So if you're not happy with the result, you can actually roll back the programming that's been happening. So don't stress too much because it keeps a record of all of that. Now, let's have a look to see what's going on down here. Constructing core app. Oh, we're up to the metadata JSON and the app. So if I go in here now, I'm going to see it's created the metadata. It's now onto the app TSX file. It's now doing the index CSS. CSX, of course, is the code that is the cascading style sheets, which we see in HTML. That's the only reason I actually know what it is. And it actually gives it the instructions on which font and how to lay out and how much space between lines and colors and all that. That all normally goes into your CSS file. But, I'm not a programmer, so I actually don't know what's in here. If I click on it, maybe I can see. Let's have a look. No, there's nothing in there yet. But, that's the joys of it. But you can see here, it's continuing to work. It's been running for 136 seconds so far. And we're, going to see what happens. I'm just going to dismiss that because there were some timeout issues yesterday. I actually tried to shoot this video for you yesterday, but it didn't work because the tool kept timing out. It appears it was an issue at AI Studio. So understand these tools, like everything online, sometimes don't work. Okay, so we now have our new car lease repayment calculator. And look at it, it's quite pretty compared to the other one. It's much nicer. We can save, we can get a quick quote, we can get full details. So you can notice that's changing what it's asking for here. Applicant or business. So I can go business. I'm in Queensland. Credit tier, no idea, but I'm saying it's excellent. There's the date. Net amount. So vehicle price was 55,000. Oops. Let's do that properly. Net amounts finance was 55. Oh, okay. So I'd got no deposit, so get rid of the deposit out of there. That's a little bit different in Odyssey. I think I would have moved that around a bit. I don't think that works. So I can always tell it to do that. So I go in the vehicle details section, move the cash, oops, spell that properly. Second row. Okay, so let's just do this and have a look at what it does. So hopefully, all being well, it will just move things around. You can see here it's analyzing the grid structure. It's now working on that. And then it will reload the page with the changes and, all being well, put it in the right place. Now, there is other ways you can make changes, but the easiest way is just to tell it and see what it does. Okay, we've reloaded it, and now look, here's my cash deposit right here. So I can get rid of that now and make that 0. Vehicle price was 55,000. Drive away. Trade-in value was 11,000. GST rate's 10%. So it's got the right GST. I need to put Queensland. So it's working that out properly for my country even. It knows I'm in Australia. Then it's giving my lease structure. Frequency is monthly, 60 months in arrears. Residual value percentage is actually 45. And all of these rate assumptions we're working on, comparison rate 7. That's roughly what the rate is currently. So it's obviously done a little bit of research. It's now saying $578 per month, which realistically is pretty close to the amount. If I probably adjusted this a bit more, having just leased a car, that's actually reasonable. And I can save that. And I can get a copy of that summary. Now, if I wanted to, if I get a copy summary, so add a button to download a summary of the lease numbers. So I'm going to submit that and we'll see what it does. So it's got a schedule even over here, so you can see all your repayments. A lot going on, actually. It's pretty good. It's done pretty good out of the box. So I'm just going to let this run while it adds a button in, because while I can copy the summary and then I have to paste it somewhere else, I might as well see if it'll actually create a download button. I don't know what it's going to do here. It could be a PDF. It could be a text file. Who knows? I think it'll probably go for PDF because that's the standard on the web. And who knows what that's going to look like, but we'll find out pretty quickly. Okay, here we go. Download summary. It's come up as text. There we go. So if I click that, it's going to download me a summary. There we go. That's great. And I've got my summary. So that's how we do it. For now, go ahead, go to AI Studio and give it a go. It's not that hard. As you can see, anybody can make pretty cool apps. The more detail you put in, taking, your AI prompt, the better. Now, nothing's stopping you going through here and going, use a blue and pink color scheme or something. You can add your own lines in here. So take a minute to look at it and go, okay, well, maybe I can make some changes to this and it'll be even better. Either way, you can always change it later, but it's better to do it up front because then it puts all that code into the initial code rather than making changes over and over, because every time you make changes, you use, credits like anything online. So there you go. There's our calculators. And if I go back to our other one, there it is, and it's loaded up. And we can see the difference in the calculator and the options it gives me with all that extra information I put in the extra prompt. So hope you enjoyed this. If you liked it, please subscribe, like, share with your friends, and I'll see you in the next video.